All right, man. Well, listen, welcome back to LB1 Mastermind. Tonight we have a generational talent, man. Obviously, no intro needed for this. This is your host, Dan Mulrooney. And obviously, we're blessed to have number 2 overall draft pick, multi-Pro Bowler, and generational icon LaVar Arrington joining us tonight, just getting into his mind about linebacker play. Super blessed to have you, LaVar. Thanks for joining us.
No, appreciate you having me on, man. Appreciate the intro, too.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Obviously, no intro needed, but let's get right into it. We have coaches, we have players on this call. Super excited to get into your mind a little bit for a short amount of time. So let's take it back to the beginning, right? Like, how did you develop this mindset, whether it was Penn State to NFL, or kind of take me back through your life a little bit?
I mean, my mindset came from a hard-nosed mother who taught special education in the inner city and was really gifted and talented in being able to tap into the inner guts and makings of what really made a person go or not go. And she was really able to get results from kids that were generally written off. They were called special ed not because they had physical retardations. They came from broken homes that had drug dealing going on, drug use going on, like real like gutter type action. And my mom was able to tap in to not only her kids, but she was able to tap into a lot of the parents too. And I had to be around it. We got drug around to her, what they call the parent teacher conferences, which are supposed to be at the school, but we were going to their project complexes. So my mom, hard nosed, tough, didn't take any bull, and really knew how to not only get you to focus in on what your best should be, but actually encouraged you and loved you to want to achieve it. And my father, I mean, he's a wounded warrior. He's as old school American as it gets. He's tough. He's got prosthetic limbs. He doesn't want the new and improved he uses old wooden ones. He still walks. And he's in his 70s, and he's a man's man. And I took the lessons that I learned from what I saw my mother and my father do by example, and you take that into the fine. Like, I was fortunate enough to have some really cool youth football coaches. Like, back then it was still real. And maintaining focus, you never lose your focus. I learned that from my pops. I learned that from my mom, learned that from the coaching staffs that I had been around. I don't lose focus. So even if something like the connection goes away and we got to reconnect and start, I'm going to start right where I left off from, because nothing breaks my train of thought and where I'm at with things. And that really carried me a long way. I got to meet some really great guys as teammates along the way as well. It always helps to have guys that are like-minded, hard-nosed, tough. Some Italians, some Polish dudes, some black dudes. Like, we all came together and we formed this really tough group of dudes that we were tooth chippers, and that was just the mentality of it. Being from Pittsburgh, Steel City guy, lunch pail, hard hat type of background, and just always, you keep God first. You put your family in there, and then to me it's be a warrior. I'm the warrior that's in the garden, not the gardener that's in the war.
Wow, well said. Yeah, no, that's great. And obviously parents are a huge influence, it seems like, and obviously youth coaches you mentioned, and just the right people around you with that tough mindset. I think that's, when did you realize you were different?
Oh man, it was pretty early for me. It was early, but but knowing you're different is still, that's an interesting one, because I felt like I was 8 years old when I knew I was fast, when I knew I could, the things that I could see in my head, I could actually do it. My dad used to show us VHS cassettes, and we would watch them. And since my dad couldn't run with us, he would tell us, do that. That was how he coached us, right? It wasn't like my dad was teaching us fundamentals in terms of like, take us out, use your hands, stuff like that. I do that with my children.
Right.
But my dad was more or less like, he really made us focus in on visualization. And I would say that's probably one of the biggest, maybe understated, underrated aspects of playing the game. I would say, especially football, is being able to visualize what it is that you want to do. And at an early age, Eric Dickerson, I'm still built, I got bigger than him, but height wise, length, and style of play, I was built like Eric Dickerson. So my dad used to tell me, do what Eric Dickerson does. And he would find a way. I don't know how he did it, but he would find a way, whether it was inside the NFL or ESPN, whatever it was, he'd get tape on them. And so we would sit and we would watch it. And I was just marveling over how he looked when he ran. And that just kind of was a turn on, and that just kept continuing on. He played Mike Singletary. He put Dick Butkus up there. He put Jack Ham and Jack Lambert up there. And, being from Pittsburgh, he played like it was Greg Lloyd and Kevin Green. Now I'm old enough where I'm watching the games with them. And it became more of I see what Greg is doing. Oh man, I see what Kevin Green is doing. Dang, look at what Chad Brown is doing. I see what Big Kirk is doing. Like, I would see what all of them were doing, and I would take notes on what they were doing, and I would try it. I try it. It was as simple as seeing what they were doing and emulating the things that they were doing. And, so that's why I always felt like visualizing was a key part of it all. But I was able to do it at a young age, and I was actually able to get out there and take what I could see at a young age and make it do that in real time, which was kind of cool. I didn't know how cool it was at the time, but it was pretty fulfilling to be able to do something that you had saw in your head. Like, I'd be in my bedroom on my bed, like how the movies, you're holding the football and you're watching the tape and you're sitting there and you're looking at the posters on your wall. Like, I literally was the poster child for like a ridiculously, he's too much into what it is that he does type of dude. But it was, I had a humble beginning, and having humble beginnings, when I had the opportunity to really get on a football team and start channeling my energy that direction, it became my magnificent, as CT Fletcher would say, it became my magnificent obsession. And that's what it was. So from 8 years old, I remember I drew a house for my mom, and I gave her the house. I drew it at school, colored it up, everything, purple tree, orange house, brown roof, whatever it was, gave it to my mom. And I told her, I'm gonna buy you a home one day. And that was like around 8 years old. And
That's
I
amazing.
did.
Yeah, no
and,
doubt.
and,
No
and I
doubt.
did.
No
They
doubt.
still live in that home to this
Hey,
day.
hey, congrats, man. And obviously, for our listeners, our players and coaches, visualization and being a mimic learner is something to take from, kind of what you're saying, and the obsession. I think obsession is a big thing. It's actually over discipline, right? And when you're obsessed with a thing, you drawing houses and visualizing. You had this knack of making these game-breaking, game-changing plays at Penn State. your time with the Skins, right? Like you make these unbelievable plays. Do you credit that to your instincts, or is that preparation, or is that more back to what you said before with the visualization of jumping over a cut block or LaVar leaping over a guy? What is that? Is that instincts or preparation? Can you just explain the difference?
I think instincts are things obviously you're born with,
Right.
and you have to work to develop your instincts. You don't just come out of the womb and you have the instincts, and like now all of a sudden you're like Neo in the Matrix. And so even Neo had to learn from Morpheus, how to tap into, what his superpowers were. And I think that's a lot like your instincts. I think preparation is really knowing as much as you can possibly know about the small details. I always say, if you try to see the big details, you're going to miss the little ones. If you miss the little ones trying to see the big ones, then you probably have missed something that gives you a competitive advantage. So I always like to narrow the scope of what my preparation is. I mean, I'm talking as little as how quickly they come out of the huddle,
Yeah.
how fast they run up to the ball. Are they starting up? Are they going down by the count? Like, are they stay out of the huddle group? What does that look like? How many times do they look at the sideline before they call the play? The down and distance with how many times they call the play, how much time is on the play clock, what's the average on the play clock? Do they even have an average in terms of when they snap the ball? Like, just the littlest things, and if you can organize and break it down, like I'll take an hour in film prep and just break down as much as I can tendencies from a certain down. If it's 1st and 10, I want to see, because the DNA of a coach is the DNA of a coach. He's going to he's going to tell his story the way he knows it. He can't tell a story any differently than the way he knows the story. So he's going to give you what his characteristics are. He's going to give you what the framework of what he's going to do by the way he calls the games. So if I can get a lock in on the flow of how they call the games, like, okay, I'll watch a game where they have a linebacking core that's as talented as ours was, or they're not as talented as we were, right? What are they doing when they have a group of linebackers that can run to the ball or can cover? What are they doing when they're not as good at that? Maybe one is good at it, but maybe the other two are lacking. Maybe it's a 4 linebacker crew. Maybe it's a 5. You don't know, but you watch and you see, what is this person trying to get done? And I just worked from there. And really, it's just having a firm belief in what it is that you're able to do. Like, I had no fear.
Right.
Like when you go out there, if for all the times that I made a big play, there were times where, I got caught.
Right.
And it happens. But for me, using the instincts to answer the question, using the instincts that I was able to develop, I developed my instincts keenly based off of being bold in my approach. No fear.
Yeah.
You can't have any fear. So if you add the preparation to the boldness and the belief of what you're capable of doing, because a lot of people just said, oh, LaVar Arrington's more athletic. He's just athletic. That was the thing. I was a freelancer. I wasn't intelligent. I was, I was just super athletic. That's what I always got. Yep. But I always tell people, I challenge you, go watch my film and you do it. If you're smarter, if you're more intelligent, and the athleticism is really, to me, the athleticism is marginalized when your preparation and your instincts are in total lockstep and in tune. I don't have to be able to jump as high as I can jump to do what I need to do. When I was leapfrogging dudes, when they were trying to block me, a chop block is a chop block. just because I can dunk on somebody if I play coming from basketball doesn't mean that on the football field I can actually leapfrog a football player that plays for Ohio State or Iowa or Purdue or Michigan, right?
Yep.
So I always challenge people, instead of taking the easy way out and saying that the easy way is to say, you're not going to do things that I was able to do because it was just his athleticism. His athleticism was so much better than everybody. I didn't jump high when I leapfrog, guys. Here's what I studied. I studied the shoulders and the head of the running back. If I came on a blitz, if I was able to get a one-on-one and I cleared the tackle and I'm heading towards that back, if the back dropped his head and then his shoulder went with him, he's going down. He's going, like, he is going down. So I'm going to make him a believer that he needs to go down, because I understand that his mindset is, this big, strong, fast dude is coming directly at me and we're one-on-one. What's the best? I'm going to find out what he believes is the best approach to it. Now, the Jamar, whatever his name was, the big fullback for Ohio State when I was there, he wasn't cutting. he wasn't cutting. And so whatever that preparation was, I knew I had to cut him in half. Always cut the dudes in half, right? That's always my thing. You got to cut them in half. Take your whole and operate on the half. But if I was able to see a tendency like you, oh, you're leaning into it. You're already leaning into it. Like, you're already giving me the shoulder. There's the head. All I got to do is push your head.
Yeah, and I
you
think
did that when you were a kid, right? Like, you jumped over poles, put your hand on the pole, jumped over the pole. You know what I mean? Like, we did that when we were kids. So it's just a matter of practical. I'd say this, practical application. Yeah. Just believing in the, like, 100,000 people, it didn't matter. It's still just practical application.
Yeah, a couple things just to tell our listeners, the players and coaches listening. I mean, a couple things I took from that. Obviously, no fear, right? Being able to play, trusting your ability, right? Like, that's obviously something that we want to instill into our linebackers. If they have the talent, we have to play. You have to play, right? And then the second piece you said was the ability, and I think this is where you separate from the greats, is to be able to read things running full speed off the edge, and to be able to quickly assess how fast you need to read a shoulder and a head, and running off the edge full speed. And these guys are NFL players. They're not, these guys aren't high school kids.
Sure.
Able to read it on the fly, I think, is the most impressive. It makes you in the 1%. And obviously your mindset, like the 1% guys, they have that eliteness to them, whether it's, Kobe Bryant, LaVar Arrington, and being in the 1%, it's harder to stay in the 1% than it is to be in it. Right. So for our listeners, for our coaches and players, obviously the timing, the rhythm, these are things that you obviously have. I want to talk just quickly on leadership as we segment. How do you define leadership? And not in that kind of a question, but what are some non-negotiables? You've been around some great players. You're a great player. What are some ways that you projected leadership? And what are some great ways you've seen it? And what are some of your non-negotiables? When it comes to linebacker rooms or linebacker plays, generated towards coaches maybe trying to run their room, or generate to some players that might be listening in?
For me, leadership is really, it all starts with the commitment. You just got to commit. There's got to be a full commitment, because I ultimately feel like everybody's a leader. People say, oh, this person's got to be a leader, that person. Lead. Like, everybody be a leader. Like, for me, I look at it like this. You may have a general and you have soldiers with different distinctions. But with that being said, once them bullets start flying, he can get hit just like the people that he's leading or she's leading. And to me, it's always about, I'm not going to not prepare like the elites. And I always have equated leaders and elites as the same. I've never really met a leader that wasn't elite. I don't know. Maybe I have. I don't recall them. But I just always felt like a positive mindset, is where it all starts. You make that commitment, and then once you make that commitment, it's just really all about like being positive, speaking life into things and not being toxic or not being undermining type of energy. Like I feel like it's all about your heart and your mind. That's what a true leader is, someone who is willing to be vulnerable, who is willing to be open about who they are and what they deal with and what they know and what they don't know, and bringing the the raw uncut of who they are to the table every day, because it's the emotional connection, it's that emotional exchange and transfer of energy to me that really opens the gateways to being able to, which goes back to my mom and how my mom always connected with her students, and just seeing how she could be hard, but they also responded because they knew how much love was in her heart, and they knew it because she was vulnerable and she was open. And I think that being a teammate isn't about, you might be a talker, you might not be. You might be someone who is really based off of just doing it. And that's how you do what you do. You show that I'm putting in the work physically, and that's how I lead. Courtney Brown didn't say much at all, but man, we followed Courtney Brown. Brandon Short talked a lot, and we followed the cat, and so everybody has their different ways that they're wired, but ultimately you still are going to have moments where the emotional exchanges that I had with Courtney played a major role in how we pushed each other. The communication can become wordless. It's a body manner. It's a, okay, I see it in his face, like whatever it may be. And that only happens if y'all are committed to what that process is every single day. And I think the process defines itself differently by team, by personalities, what that may be. So I don't think there's a clear-cut way as to how you approach it, other than knowing that people's time is valuable. Your time, make sure your time is valuable, and start there. Be accountable and committed that way. And then from there, don't be the cool guy. Don't be the toxic guy. Don't be the guy that's walking around pouting because you didn't get the girl you wanted, one of your teammates may have. Don't, there's so many politics that play out that coaches really don't get into talking about when, like, we had these types of conversations. But don't be petty, man. Don't be a petty cat. Don't like take away or sabotage what you can be and what you can represent to your teammates because of dumb things, like simple petty things. And that can play a large part in why people fall short of being the type of leader that they should be. But ultimately, look, a pack of wolves, they run. And the saying, I always use the saying, listen, like, the strength of the pack is the wolf, and the strength of the wolf is the pack. And as long as you understand that rule, it is what it is. Sure, you got an alpha male that leads it, but at the end of the day, if that alpha male is running by himself, he's not taking down that buffalo. He's not taking down that elk. He's got to have the pack, and the pack has to understand my role is important. And so I'm leading by example, because while I may not be the captain or the leader, I am a leader by doing my job at the highest level that I can possibly do it at. Doesn't happen often, but the teams that do it, I feel like they generally are the ones that figure out ways to win the hard games and find themselves in big games and generally win those big games.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, man. You're absolutely crushing it. And I remember last time we spoke, you spoke a little bit about keeping the main thing the main thing. And
Always,
that was kind of your message. And
always.
I want to give, because you gave such a great presentation to me last time on that. I want you to leave like one, as we leave, I know your time's valuable. As we leave today, keep the main thing the main thing. Kind of give your understanding of that paraphrase to our listeners, right? There's great linebackers, a lot of people on this call, right? Coaches, players, obviously learning your inside, your mind a little bit. But as we leave tonight, just kind of talk, keep the main thing, because that really resonated with me last time we talked.
A lot of guys use it too. The phrase is not an original phrase. A lot of guys use the phrase, and whatever that main thing is, like for me, the main thing was to come to the table and be the best I could possibly be. Like, you don't have to look over your back. I got your six. You don't have to look to your side. I got you to the side. Whatever it is, I'm coming to the table, and sure, I may make mistakes, but outside of mistakes, that those mistakes are going to be made 100 miles per hour, like facing the fan. And to me, the main thing is always making sure that you are carrying the utmost accountability for yourself first. I always say you have to have a healthy level of selfishness. And it's interesting because people make the word selfish a derogatory term, right? But it's interesting because being selfish, I have to be selfish in order to have enough self to be selfless.
That's what we did. That's it. That's the mind right there.
Right? If I can be enough of me and know who I am, and I bring that to my team and I bring that to the table, then what I can give to my teammates is amazing, because I can be selfless, because the focus wasn't on trying to appease my teammates, and my focus wasn't on trying to be funny to my teammates or be a kikier to my coaches or joking around, whatever it may be, or doing nothing at all. My focus was to learn who I am. How do I react when I'm tired? How do I react when I'm hot? How do I react when I'm cold? How do I react when it's hard? How do I react when we're winning? What do we do here? Situationally speaking, that's one of the biggest parts of sports, is situations. So to me, it was all about learning me. Why was I able to do the things that I did? It was understanding who I was so much that by the time we got to wherever it was, a practice, a meeting, I could give me to my teammates. What are you looking at here? Here's what I'm looking at. Here's what I see. This is why I feel the way that I feel. I feel like this is a good week for this. I'll wait. I used to wait, bro. Like, I'd have stuff in my sleeve going into the game. I'd wait till third quarter. Like, I could have did it 2-3 times over, but you don't want to abuse your preparation, And I know I know we're wrapping up, and I know you had one of the questions of tackling. It's interesting, keeping the main thing as it applied to tackling, because it's such a relevant topic to me, was knowing the difference between tackling and hitting. Right?
Ooh, let's get into it. You got 2 minutes?
I got a minute. So my main thing was the main thing. I never met a man I couldn't get down to the ground. All right. Never one. Not Jerome Bettis, not Eddie George, Troy Hambrick, Emmitt Smith, you name it. Warwick Dunn, Mike Allstott. I've hit them all. Now, the thing about it is that football is very scientific. It's the blood and the guts of being brave enough to execute, but it's science. I've never met a person that had balance that didn't have shoulders. In fact, I've never met somebody who doesn't have shoulders. So anytime I make contact, I cut the body in half, I attacked from an angle, and I always attack the shoulder. Always. Now, people may not agree with my style or may not agree with it, but for me, I found it to be super, super ridiculously effective. Why? Because one, if if a running back is running too high, if my aiming point is where his shoulder is supposed to be, my eyes and my body are still going to make the contact and absorb the hit. I always wanted to absorb the hit with my sternum. My eyes made sure that you couldn't get off of me this way or that way. Now, it didn't always work out that way. Force is force, right? Hit a guy, boom. You might fall back, he might stay up, whatever. But in theory, which it 90% plus of the time, if he can see you and you can see him, I'm pinpointing his shoulder that's closest to me. And I'm going to take my eyes up and through his shoulder and I'm going to make contact, boom. And then I'm grabbing him. I'm going to punch through, right? And to me, it's clockwork. Bam. I'm going to push the shoulder back. Next time you get on the field, touch a dude's shoulder. See the strongest dude. See if he can hold you from pushing his shoulder back, right? I've not met a person that can do it yet. So you attack that shoulder. Once you attack the shoulder and you disrupt the balance, then now you wrap up and you secure and do what you need to do. That's a tackle. If he doesn't see me, I'm going to hit him. Right? I am going to take the same approach and how I hit him, but I am going to now, instead of making sure I drive, run my feet, chop the feet, speed the feet up, this, that, and the other, and then get my eyes up and through, make contact, squeeze it, all that stuff. I'm just going straight through the shoulder, straight through. And that's how big hits take place, is because if you're able to shock and push through the shoulder, my dad used to always say, hit the third person. So when I was going through the shoulder, I was hitting the third shoulder, right? I'm not stopping my feet at the first shoulder. I'm still running my feet through 2 all the way to 3. You know what I mean? So it's the idea and the mindset of, I'm a warrior. The main thing to me is I am going to impact the people's lives that are out here on the field with me on that other side of the ball. If by the end of that game, it's not this dude is amazing, or this dude plays with his heart. His mind is in it, but he plays with his heart. If you didn't leave the game feeling that about me after we played against each other, I failed. It was a fail, whether we won or whether we lost. The main thing to me was my teammates were going to know, damn, if we play at this level and VAR played at that level, if we play at that level, we're going to win. We're going to win. We're going to be okay. That was my main thing, was always leave the game with the feeling of, damn, that's special. Yeah. And to me, that's effort.
We all watched it, brother. We all watched it, man.
That's effort. You know what I mean? To me, that's effort. Anybody, you want to know why every kid who's worn 11 at Penn State tends to do the same exact things? Because we talk about the same exact things.
Standards over scheme.
Standards over scheme.
Standards.
I don't care if you're not as fast. Abdul isn't as fast as Micah. Navarro isn't as fast as Micah. Micah's fast. Right. Navarro isn't as fast, but Navarro might have been he super athletic differently than what people would say, oh, he can speed demon or this, that, and the other. But he knew how to get to the ball. He knew how to score once he got the ball, pick it off, this, that. He knew he just understood it, and it was keeping the main thing, and the mindset of, this is what's required of me, and this is what you're going to get, and you're going to get a full 100% of what that is. Everybody who's worn the number, we have these conversations over and over and over and over and over again ad nauseum, and you start to understand, you start to realize that it is about way more than just getting out there and running around and hitting somebody.
Yeah, that standard you guys have at Penn State is special, and you obviously were the key of that. Now your son, all the legacy that you're creating is incredible to watch.
Thank you.
I'm a fan too. Obviously, I grew up just so you know, your poster was up in my room when I was a kid. So
Thank you.
not being a fanboy here, but super excited that you're on this call, guys. For all the players, all the coaches right now listening, LB1 Mastermind, this is profound. The stuff that LaVar just shared with us, this is the blueprint, man. This is a generational icon. Obviously, someone we all watched and grew up with. We appreciate his time. Number one, he took his time out of his busy schedule. His radio show is, he's a celebrity, and it's awesome to be a part of this. But live it, man. Like he talked about, live it. This is the standard, right? He talked about standard over scheme, stuff we all believe in, stuff the rest of the guys in this call, Luke Kuechly, all these guys are talking about, all the greats that played this game. And we're giving back to the LB1 community, obviously to enrich people and give everything back. So LaVar, appreciate you, man. You're the man. I appreciate you.
All good. Appreciate you, Dan.
All right, man. I'll talk to you
All
soon.
right. All right, boss. You be good.
See you, man. I'll see you.
All right.